X Factors. We're back. Hey, this isn't NFL, it's NBA. This is basketball. Basketball season right around the corner. Couldn't be more excited. Today we're breaking down the Eastern Conference, and I got my boys Troy and Caleb, the X Factors, the dogs. Boys, how we doing?
Doing great. Hey, Fred, welcome back. Welcome back, my boy. You had a short stint on the IR, just a week, but you're back better than
Mama
ever.
ain't raised one. You know what I'm saying? Mama ain't raised one.
As Caleb said, tough as nails. As he's already alluded to, this is our first episode in the NBA, breaking down the Eastern Conference. We will be going from 15 to 1, ranking out who we have finishing 15th, all the way up to first in the conference, maybe even an early favorite to win the conference. Boys, are you ready? Are you excited?
Let's get weird.
It's weird to think that the NBA is like already here. It's like 2 weeks away.
I feel like the Warriors just
days.
won.
17 days away. October 18th could not get here quick enough. Opening night in the NBA. Cannot wait. Caleb, let's hop right over to you. Who do you have finishing 15th in the Eastern Conference this year?
Not a shock. They are in a rebuild mode. I have the Indiana Pacers. Some questions I have with them is, when's Buddy Hield and Miles Turner finally going to get traded? Because I know we've heard like the Russell Westbrook trades. They've been trying to trade Miles Turner for the last 5 seasons. And so I think it's going to be an open market for those two. But you have the young backcourt in Tyrese Halliburton, Chris Duarte, and Benedict Mathurin, who I really liked over the summer. So I think it's just going to be a lot of opportunity to let those 2 young guys play together, get it figured out, and see if that's your backcourt of the future. But other than that, there are other additions. I mean, nobody really stands out. They brought in Daniel Tice. I mean, he'll probably get traded at some point or bought out. But
he'll end up in Boston, I'm sure.
Yeah,
seriously. But from everything, I like Jalen Smith too. But it's just like a bunch of young guys and a franchise that really doesn't want to win right now. So not a shock. I have the Pacers.
Fred?
I also have the Indiana Pacers, man. They are, like Caleb alluded to, they are in a big rebuild. I like their additions. I think they had a good draft. Matherin's great. I love the Andrew Nembhard pickup at the top of the second. I mean, but they don't have a star. They don't have somebody they can even just lean on, kind of like some of these other bad teams that maybe, okay, they can maybe find a way into the play-in, but I don't even think they have a guy that they can lean on. Tyrese Halliburton's great, but I don't think he's a superstar. You get some pieces around that young core, maybe. I like Kendall Brown, another rookie out of Baylor, but outside of that, Buddy and Miles, I'm surprised they're not already traded. So I don't think they finished anywhere between 15 or 14 in a swap.
Shams reported today that the Lakers and the Pacers were reportedly extremely close right before training camp. And then the holdup just so happens to be the Lakers not wanting to give up 2 first-round picks. They would rather give up a first and 1 to 2 seconds. So, just on the Pacers, I too have them finishing 15th. So a clean sweep for the Pacers here. I have them trading 5 players this year. Just Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, Daniel Tice, TJ McConnell, and O'Shea Brissett. I expect them all to be moved at some point throughout the year. Now, what do they acquire for those pieces?
I really think like Buddy Hield and Miles Turner could get like some really good, like, I mean, I guess it's obviously like the Pacers obviously would want picks or young guys, but it's just like, I don't see why a team that has the opportunity to go get those guys, they really like look at a team that's like in the middle of the pack, like towards the the middle of the season, like go get at least one of those 2 guys. I really think they could bring a whole lot to like start for any team, or not necessarily any team, but bring solid minutes off the bench for any team in this league. And I don't see why they're not hot off the market like right now. But
yeah, I expect the Lakers to get the deal done eventually. I just think they need to. They need to. Now, I think the Pacers are smart by playing hardball, but I do think eventually deal is done because they need to find minutes for guys like Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, see if he's got anything. You know, he was a high prospect. Hugo Besson and, Kendall Brown. Like, they can just throw these guys out there, throw them to the Wolves, see what they have. So changing gears to 14, Fred. Who you got here?
I got the young Orlando Magic. I know they're exciting. They have these young pieces, but it takes a while. These guys aren't going to come out and win you a championship. But I do have them finishing 14 because, I mean, like I said, they're young. It's going to take time to build that chemistry. I love what they have, though. I thought they had knocked it out of the park with Paulo Banchero. I think that kid's going to be one of the top, if not the top player from that class. Garrett Harris is great. RJ Hampton is like a young gazelle. Don't know what you're going to get from him, but he's got potential. Kawhi Anthony looks good. Brought in Bol. I hope Jonathan Isaac can get healthy. One of my favorite players in the league. Just hasn't put, injury-wise, just hasn't played many games. Chumo Kiki's great. Terrence Ross.
Dude, I love Chumo Kiki.
Yeah, he's great. He's good. I like him a lot, too. And then Jalen Suggs, of course. I'd like to see him get going. And a guy who really surprised me last year, Franz Wagner, just long, lengthy three who can just put it up, man. And we'll see what they do. Also drafted Caleb Houston in the second. So they're a fun team, but God, they're so young in this league. You got to have some experience, and that's why I got them finishing 14th.
Caleb,
I've really debated on putting the Magic higher. I'll be honest, but I also put the Magic at 14 here.
Great minds think alike.
I just think we're like a year away from seeing this young core take a bigger step and probably finish closer to the play-in game type area. Their rotation, that's my biggest question. Like, what does this rotation look like? So all their players from last year, they have Mo Bamba, Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter Jr., Markelle Fultz, RJ Hampton, Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac, who hasn't played since he's 25 and he hasn't played since he was 21. I saw that tweet today.
Dude took his first sip and hasn't played since.
Chumo Kiki, Terrence Ross, who everybody knows. I love Terrence Ross, Jalen Suggs, and the Wagner brothers, not twins. So it's like that's a whole lot of guys. And I mean, there's nobody that really stands out, but it's like those are guys that you want to give minutes to. I really like Wendell Carter. I really like Franz Wagner. Other than that, it's like nobody really blows me away on this team. It's just a lot, and they were 28th in the league last year, 3-point percentage. I feel like it's just a lot of ISO ball, you know what I mean? Bad shots. Yeah. So nothing stands out this year. I think adding Paulo, though, is a great addition, and I think it's a step in the right direction. And trade a couple of these guys away and get this core built and go from there.
Yeah, I too have the Orlando Magic clean sweep for the bottom two here. Last year they were 22-60, and whenever you look at their roster as a whole, outside of Paulo Banchero, they didn't really add anybody. So, they didn't lose anybody of gain, but they gained a rookie. And while Paulo is this big stud, he's going to have some star power. He's not going to pick you up 10 to 15 wins in year one. Maybe, you can say Jonathan Isaac is an addition just by him hopefully being healthy, but we've yet to see it. So you have to kind of prove it in this league as well. So a whole lot of prove it guys. I hope Jalen Suggs can stay healthy. I mean, they just have a lot of injury riddled players that have yet to prove what they really are. Jalen Suggs, Markelle Fultz, guys like Gary Harris, who have some upside, but haven't really put together, a season where we're like, yes, this is what we want to see. So the Orlando Magic, the number 14 team on all three of our ballots here. Now we move on to the 13th team. I think this is where things start getting a little bit more interesting. I'll just take this one. I have the Washington Wizards finishing 13th in the Eastern Conference this year. Last year they finished 12th. They were 35-47. When you look at this roster, they acquired Will Barton and Monte Morris from a trade. They picked Johnny Davis in the lottery. He's looked rather rough. But whenever you look at this roster as a whole, everybody's like, well, it's really not that bad when you look at it. Like their roster internally is not bad. But again, it's just one of those things. Can they stay healthy? Bradley Beal hasn't proved since he got big money that he can play a whole season. Kristaps Porzingis, since he tore his ACL in New York, has yet to put together a complete season. Denny Avdia last year broke his foot. Like you look all around this roster, it's just, and if they lose Bradley Beal or Porzingis for an extended amount of time, it's kind of thin. It's really thin. Like once you lose one guy, it's really thin, and depth is huge in this league. So I have them finishing 13th, and either one of you can take it from here.
Go ahead, Fred.
I also have Washington at 13.
There we go.
Yeah, dude, I feel like you saying Kristaps Porzingis is on the Wizards, like somebody listening was like, he's on the Wizards? Like, you know what I mean? Like, for some, it's like, I thought he was out of the league, and for others, like, oh, I thought he was still in Dallas. But yeah, this team has some pieces, man. Like they have, of course, the star in Bradley Beal. He's proved it. He can score, but can't win. Picked up a kid from Kentucky, Davion Mintz. I mean, just gonna throw that out there.
I think they just released him, actually.
Hey,
I think I just saw that as I was taking my notes down.
yeah, but
they just released
you know
him.
what he did though? He fought. He got some. He injected some. He injected some youth into him. No, but I like Vernon Carey. Johnny Davis, don't like him as much. Efficiency wins in this league, and his efficiency, even coming out of Wisconsin, was not very good. Denny Avdia got injured last year. Don't really know what you're going to get out of him. Kyle Kuzma, cool. I mean, outside of Bradley Beal, I mean, who are you going to look to score the ball? Rui Hachimura hasn't really been, a high lottery pick I don't know. They just have way too many question marks for me. Now, if they're healthy and Kristaps Porzingis shows a little bit of New York Kristaps, maybe they can sneak up into the play-in. But right now, man, I got them at 13. Just not a fan.
Caleb?
I'll switch it up. Hot take, I guess. There's always one team in the East every year that I'm just absolutely not high on that others seem to be. I have the Charlotte Hornets here.
Ooh.
So
There we
here's
go.
my thing. They obviously lost Miles Bridges. Who's going to step up and replace him? I maybe PJ Washington, and maybe PJ Washington can, if that's the case, he most improved player. I would like that odds. But we look at their rotation. It's LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, Kai Jones, Scotty Lewis, Cody Martin, Jalen McDaniels, Kelly Oubre, Mason Plumley, Terry Rozier, and PJ Washington. I just feel like they're going to have to rely on LaMelo just way too much. And I definitely think he's capable. I've taken, a couple years ago when he was coming into the league, I definitely, I take that. I was obviously wrong. So I take that on the chin. 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists last year. So I definitely think we could see him putting up very good numbers, but I also feel like it could be like there's always that one guy every year that puts up really good numbers on a really bad team. And I just, Gordon Hayward can't stay healthy. Terry Rozier, it's like, he's a shoot first kind of guard. Yeah. And, LaMelo has to have the ball in his hands. PJ Washington, I'm hoping he can have a really breakout year. In my opinion, this is too many scorers, not enough passers on this team, and losing efficiency from Miles Bridges, who had a very good year last year. I just think it's going to be too much for them. So I have them finishing 13th.
Yeah, like when you check out the Hornets, as you said, it's an interesting team. Like, you would think they would be on that next level of like, okay, they're the next team that's going to be pushing for like outside the play-in, like a 6th spot. But then losing, obviously, what Miles Bridges did is absolutely horrible. But from a basketball sense, just looking at it from this sense, it's a terrible loss for them because they have nobody else outside of LaMelo that can really step into that role and provide that.
Do you have where they finished last year in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I was going to ask you as a quiz, but Fred, do you know where they finished last year?
Were they even in the plan?
Yeah.
Well,
10?
If you had to guess, okay, yeah, 10. But it's like off of like the top of your head when you think about like, because they had a lot of hype last year because they were getting it. It was exciting to watch. They're fun in transition. So it's like in my head, I was like, they finished higher. And then I look and it's like they finished 10th and they're losing Miles Bridges on top of all that. And they didn't really bring anybody in. I mean, Mark Williams and Bryce McGowan's like, those aren't bad rookies, but it's like those guys aren't going to, change anything for you. So I just think it's a downhill spiral for right now until they can maybe bring somebody else in later on.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation to watch. You kind of alluded to stars like being on rough teams like LaMelo could be, and you're predicting he will be. It's kind of funny that me and Fred went with Bradley Beal's Wizards and you went with LaMelo Ball's Hornets. So it takes more sometimes than just a star. So Caleb switches it up on us and zigs while me and Fred are zagging. So I'll let you take this one, Caleb. Your 12th team in the Eastern Conference.
This is where I have the Wizards.
Okay.
Okay. I originally, I won't lie to you, I had the Wizards in 10th spot. But I just think it's just too much to really bank on them staying healthy. So I'd rather play it safe and have them 12 here than, in a perfect world, they all stay healthy and they play really well. Because it's just like, you got to think like KP has got to be a reliable number 2, and he just hasn't proven that yet. Yeah. And Kyle Kuzma isn't a number 2 to where you're a very good team. So this is where I put the Wizards.
I respect that there. And Fred?
I'm gonna go with the Detroit Pistons at 12. I thought they killed it in the draft with Durant and Ivy. They're just, again, another team that's super young, waiting for them to gel. Cade Cunningham's got to prove it for me. Still not sold on him yet, but we'll see. I want to see Killian Hayes do more, another high lottery pick that just hasn't done anything. Sadiq Bey has done some really good things. Hamidou Diallo's consistent. Brought in Marvin Bagley, and Isaiah Stewart's a pit bull. He's trying to fight anybody. So just a lot of young guys. Bojan Barjanovic coming in, but outside of that, man, I don't know. Isaiah Livers is cool, but they're young. They're up and coming. I can't wait to see Jalen Durant out there because I think he is an absolute freak. Just again, I think it's another team that really needs that wing scorer that they just don't have right now. So, but I do think the Pistons shock a little bit, and because they could even finish up as low as 15th. You never know, but I do think they overperform and finish at 12.
So, just real quick, a little pushback on you here. When you say wing scorer, you look at who they acquired this offseason. You see Alec Burks. You see Jaden Ivey. You see Sadiq Bey, who internally they retain. Bojan Bogdanovic. Like, you see those kind of guys, and you don't view them as a wing scorer.
Not elite, give the ball and go get me one. No.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Okay.
I won't necessarily disagree with you there.
So 12th, you have the Pistons, correct?
I do have the Pistons. Yeah.
Wow. I'm a little shocked by that. Not gonna lie. I was not expecting they're
just young.
Pistons.
They're another team that's so young, man. I don't know.
I got you.
Yeah, I need to have somebody on my team where I can be like, roll the ball out, go score. Gotta have it.
And you don't believe they have that on their roster?
Not a consistent guy like that. No.
Okay. At number 12, I have your New York Knicks. That is where I slid the Knicks. I just think that they acquired in free agency Jalen Brunson and Isaiah Hartenstein. They drafted Trevor Keels. They traded back out of a lottery pick. Didn't make too much sense to me on a team that could use a pick in that position, especially whenever you look at some of their big man depth. When you look at their rotation, obviously Brunson, Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. That's a solid 5. But is that a 5 that's going to get you over the hump, get you into the playoffs? Not in my eyes, especially when you look at their bench. They're just so guard, like their good bench players are guards. And they just brought in a big acquisition guard. So it doesn't really make sense to me with Emmanuel Quickley, Derrick Rose, Quentin Grimes. So it's just that their roster is just so funky to me. I don't really see the fit. I don't like Tom Thibodeau as a coach. I don't really see their vision right now. They traded Alec Burks, who had a really, really good year for them. They traded away Nerlens Noel. Like, do they trust Jericho Sims to step right in and be that backup 5? I just don't see the vision with the New York Knicks right now. Obi Toppin needs to show me what he did in college. Granted, he was on Dayton, so maybe I just overhyped him a bit too much. Yeah. But I just don't see the vision with the Knicks. They finished 11th last year in the East. I have them finishing 12th this year. So moving on, we'll give it right to Fred. Fred, who's your 11th?
This is where I put the Knicks, man. Jalen Brunson's your big, outside of LA, the second biggest market in the United States. In the whole league, we're going to go get Jalen Brunson. Cool. Like, what are the Knicks' vision? Just like you said, I don't know. Is Jalen Brunson going to go win you a championship? Absolutely not. They've
going to get you into the playoffs is more like this. More the likely question.
Yeah, no kidding. You're New York, man. Go sign a big time free agent, and they just haven't been able to. I don't know if that's front office or I don't know, coaching. Who knows? But they have some fun pieces. I think Jericho Sims is an absolute freakazoid, and I hope he gets some good PT this year. He should. Obi Toppin is going to get some more minutes this year. Evan Fournier is always good. Of course, Emmanuel Quickley. You got Derrick Rose, but just not a lot, man. And Cam Reddish hasn't proved it. And I
forgot to even mention him.
Yeah, I mean, RJ Barrett, as a Dookie, he's cool. I mean, but again, is he a guy that's going to lead you to even a playoff spot, like Caleb said? And I'm going to say no. I got them at 11.
I also have them at 11. Finished 11th last year. I could see them like finishing 9th. Like that's the top I would give them. I just think, who's the perimeter defender on this team? RJ Barrett. So it's like you're going to rely on RJ Barrett to guard the team's best perimeter player and then turn around and try to give you buckets on offense. Because, I mean, I watched Jalen Brunson a whole lot. He needs the ball in his hands, and he's most effective getting to the bucket. Like, I mean, when that dude gets to the rim, he has a million ways to score around the rim. They were 35% from three last year, about middle of the pack in the league. Jalen Brunson's going to need the ball in his hands a whole lot. RJ Barrett's going to need the ball in his hands a whole lot. Evan Fournier, I'm just not crazy about. I mean, he's an average NBA player in my eyes. It's just a whole lot of questions that really didn't get answered with Jalen Brunson. I like the signing, but for not as much as they had to get him for. So I just don't think it really changes anything for him.
Yeah, the Knicks are one of those teams. I think if they didn't, and this is going to sound crazy, like if they didn't have Julius Randle and they brought in Jalen Brunson, like with this type of roster, I can see the vision a little bit better because like you said, Brunson gets downhill, and a big man like Mitchell Robinson and Jalen Brunson, that could be a sneaky good 1-2 punch in terms of a pick and roll type situation and just having him as a lob threat. But I mean, then you look at the rest of the roster. It's like, what is the vision? Like you said,
a lot of lefties. I mean, Brunson, Randall, and RJ Barrett, all lefties. That's something.
Yeah, this is actually where I threw the Hornets as my 11th seed in the Eastern Conference. Kind of, I mean, just piggybacking off of what Caleb said. I mean, in my eyes, depth. You have to have depth, and whenever you look at their roster, it's kind of riddled of depth. They have a lot of just shot in the darks when it comes to Dennis Smith Jr., James Bouknight, Bryce McGowan's, Cody Martin, even Kelly Oubre. Like you just have a lot of different players that, you're hoping, can give you good production and good minutes and this and that, but it's a whole lot of hope going on. So I slid them just outside of the play-in game. So moving into the play-in spots, the playoff teams, if you will. I'll pass this over to you, Caleb. Caleb, who is your 10th seed in the Eastern Conference?
This is interesting because, I mean, if you would look at my notes, I've scribbled this team's name out 6 times because I really, really want to move them higher. I don't know. I got the Pistons here. I want to move the Pistons higher. I really do. I love their off-season moves. I think bringing in Bogdanovich is huge for them. And the reason is 32% from 3 last year. This is a guy that's going to be able to spread the floor that teams have to respect. And if they don't, and Cade or Jaden Ivey are able to get around their defenders, kick it out to him for a 3, I mean, he's going to hit them at a consistent rate. But I would disagree a little bit with you, Fred. I think he can get you a bucket. I'm not necessarily saying like every single time you rely on him, but I think I would say 6 times out of 10, if you give him the ball and say, hey, go get a bucket or get someone a bucket, I think he could get it done.
Bogdanovich?
Yeah.
I mean, my worry too with them, I mean, you got the backcourt of Ivy and Cunningham. They got to hit the 3.
Yeah, I agree. I
mean, that's got to, especially with Ivy, who, didn't really hit at a high clip at Purdue. I mean, he's got to, we'll see. I mean, they're an exciting young team.
I mean, one young guy that they've had that's been disappointment is Killian Hayes. And I mean, they played him a lot. And I think Jaden Ivey coming in is going to be able to take his spot more. Jalen Duren, I think, is going to, pick and roll lob threat with them. I think that's exciting. Alec Burks, another guy that you can throw out there that he's a guy you have to respect at least at the bare minimum. And so I love what they did. I think they're going to be like the Hawks a few years ago, the young, exciting team that gets not necessarily like a deep playoff run, but that gets exciting in the regular season, is able to make a push for, in this case, the play-in tournament.
Yeah, this is also where I have the Pistons. I have them at the 10 seed, sneaking in here. I just love their roster, man. I do. I love everything that they've done with Alec Burks, bringing him in, as you've already said, Nerlens Noel, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Kevin Knox, even from free agency. And whenever you look at what they lost Jeremy Grant. But they brought in Bogey, and Bogey can get the job done almost better for this team than Jeremy Grant did, because Bogey kind of fits their style a lot more than Jeremy Grant did. And then just Sadiq Bey. I mean, I think people forget just how talented that kid is. I'm pretty sure he had like a 50-point game last year. Like, this dude is a bucket. Like, he can go get you one. He can score from the outside. He can stretch the floor. He can do a little bit of everything. And then learning under Bogdanovich, I think this team, man, I wanted to move them higher as well. Just a team that you really have to look out for. But I didn't want to disrespect some of the other teams that I believe have earned, some respect from me. But Fred, who do you have at 10 here?
This is where I put the Hornets. I think they sneak in. LaMelo Ball. I mean, the kid's an absolute – he's a gin. I mean, I think he's going to just continue to climb. I can't wait for James Bouknight to get some run this year. I think he will. Super excited. A kid that I liked out of UConn a couple years ago. If Gordon Hayward can stay healthy, and we forget that, I mean, he still can put up 20 a game. Like Caleb alluded to, I'd really like to see PJ go off. Of course, we're a little biased on him just because he's a Kentucky dog. Mason Plumley, get it done. I love the Mark Williams pick. Another just freak out of Duke. 7'2", 240, 260. Just a guy who can rim run, protect the rim. So, and of course, Kelly Oubre, you know what you're going to get from him. Bryce McGowan's, I thought it was a home run pick. So we'll see, man. I just love what LaMelo Ball brings to the table, and I think he's kind of in that early Trae Young and the Hawks where he's just that good enough to put them into the playoffs. So I'm going to go with the Hornets here.
I like the Hornets. It's kind of funny. If anybody watching ever gets bored, scroll through our channel and go to one of the first videos we've ever done here. Is LaMelo Ball a top 10 point guard? And just sit down and enjoy that video as Fred and Caleb. Now, granted, at the time, LaMelo was a rookie, so they're, they have that, but they were trying to convince me that Mike Conley was better than LaMelo Ball. It's just funny to sit back and watch some of these funny videos
I'll take it on the chin. I will. As I was
one of the, I was like LeVar Ball up.
I'm not ready to do it.
To shed the, I literally watched that video a couple nights ago and was like, I was like cracking up,
I'm weak.
Just some of the takes.
But you have to admit, Mike Conley was gross. Like, I mean, he still is good, but I mean,
I know.
I just found it so. Guy.
I just found it like funny. It's just kind of funny to look back at some takes that we've all had. And it's just even me saying LaMelo at that point was a top 10 point guard. It's kind of ludicrous as a rookie.
Okay, but nonetheless, who's got the best take of all time than Jaylen Brown? That's all I'm saying.
He's still not the best player on the Celtics. Moving on, we may get into that. We may get into that debate. Oh, congratulations! We may get into that debate a little bit later as we move on now to the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference. I'll take this one. I'm going to select the Toronto Raptors to finish 9th.
Wow.
And so with this team, I kind of wanted to say this to Fred. You know who they remind me of, Fred?
Who do they remind you of?
The Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe not from the historical standpoint, but from just the standpoint of no matter how many times you think they're dead, they always just poke their head in and say, hey, don't forget, we're still here. The Steelers always find a way to either get in the playoffs, get above 500, or just kind of find themselves in the news somehow or another. That to me is the Raptors. I have tried to pin this team dead for the past 3 seasons. Ever since Kawhi left, I've been like, oh, this is when they fall off. Okay, now this is when they fall off. Yeah. And so now this year, I don't necessarily think they fall off, but I just think they take a step back. I'm not in on Pascal Siakam. They finished 5th last year in the East. They did finish 14 games above 500. I'm just not in on their acquisitions. They acquired Christian Koloko from the draft, who me and Fred talked about, and Caleb. Like we liked him. But just kind of, it is what it is. They got Josh Jackson, Otto Porter Jr., who is one of those role players on a championship team that gets the opportunity to cash in because he was on a championship team. And then DJ Wilson, just a lot of their acquisitions, I'm kind of just like, it is what it is. They kind of haven't moved the needle to go up. And to me, if you ain't getting better, you're only getting worse. So, that's kind of where I slide here. I obviously love Scotty Barnes, and maybe I have them a bit too low, but by golly, they're due just to not be, great. But there's that. Caleb, Who do you have at 9 here?
So I said wow because I had them there originally.
Wow.
But here's my thing. I am all in on Scotty Barnes. 1000%. I think I'll save my hot take for another video when it comes to Scotty Barnes. But anyways, I just really love Scotty Barnes. I really like Fred VanVleet. I do not like Pascal Siakam. I've been saying that for years. I just think
scream that.
I mean, I think he does enough to, help out. But they do, Otto Porter Jr. is the guy they bring in. They love those guys that are like 6'7" to 6'10", versatile, that can score. I think, he can help them out. They finished 5th last year. And I think when I'm looking at it, I think Scotty Barnes is going to take a leap, but I just think it's not enough of a leap to lead the rest of these guys forward. So I really wanted to have them higher, but wait, I just got lost. I have
9.
I have the Bulls here. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, you're
And I was like, wait, did he pick the Raptors or not?
No, I have the Bulls. I just got carried away on the Raptors. But
you got carried away on Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
Scotty Barnes took your mind off things.
Yeah, I have the Bulls here. The Bulls, I like their team. I just think they depended on DeMar DeRozan way too much. I don't think he's going to have another fantastic season. I mean, if you look, even after the season he had, they still finished 6th. They're an injury-riddled, team. Will we see Lonzo at all this year is a big, big question. Even like Zach LaVine gets injured, throughout the year. But they did bring in Goran Dragic, who I think we're probably seeing the tail end of his career. But I still think he can come in and be productive every now and then. And Andre Drummond, who I think in this rotation, I like actually. I think as Vucevic goes up and down. I've been a fan of Vucevic, but he goes up and down at times. But their rotation, I like it. I just don't think even the fantastic season DeMar had last year, they still finished lower. I just think right here I have them at 9. Sorry for getting so sidetracked on Scotty Barnes.
You're all good.
Please do.
Who's your 9?
I also went with the 6. Slide him at 9. Toronto Raptors. Pause. Dude, they've got a lineup. Let me tell you. I'm going to tell you a guy that I want you to watch out for this year. Delano Banton, the 6'9" point guard out of Nebraska. I like him. Last year, my guy was Malachi Flynn. He's still there. I hope he gets some run this year. They didn't play him as much as they should have.
He was your most improved player pick.
Yeah, but listen. You got OG Anunoby, elite level defender, 3-and-D. You got Scotty Barnes. Hot take, defensive player of the year this year. Okay.
I really don't think anything with him other than MVP is out of the question.
He's incredible. I mean, you got that 6'9", 7+ foot wingspan. He's quick. He's a willing defender. He can handle it. He can play a little point. This dude's all around, I think, just a beast, and he's going to keep just getting better. Gary Trent Jr.'s proved that he can put it in the bucket. So they have a good team. Their depth is my question. But I mean, they're starting 5. I mean, you can go run out there and win some games. And that's why
the way you're talking about it makes me feel like you would think that they would be higher. So what is your reasoning for putting them here at 9?
I mean, you got to look at their depth. I mean, you got Otto Porter, sure, but he's you saw him last year in Golden State. I mean, he did some things, but nothing to really write home about. I mean, you got Thaddeus Young, Chris Boucher's okay, Precious Achiuwa, just kind of some question marks there for me. And I like Fred VanVleet. Don't know how far he can take you in the playoffs. I think you just got to look at what you have in Scotty Barnes. Pascal's fine, but Scotty Barnes is your guy. Continue to build. And I think even just making it as a 9 seed in the playoffs is going to be a good thing, because the East is, I think, stacked this year. So Scotty Barnes fan club. Start up.
Here we go. Like I said before, this is kind of where it starts getting interesting. We already are seeing some different teams thrown around. So, Fred, who do you have as the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference?
I got the Bulls, man. I got Caleb's shirt. I'm looking at their depth chart right now, man. They got Ayo starting to 1. Zach LaVine's cool. Again, injuries, just like Caleb's talked about. Is DeMar DeRozan how old is he now? 33 years old. Is he going to bring you what he did last year? Can Patrick Williams stay healthy? I like him a lot. Nikola Vucevic, one of the best back-to-basket bigs scoring wise, I think, in the league. It's injuries, man. And do I believe that they can stay healthy for 82 games? I don't know. Alex Caruso's got to stay healthy. Lonzo has got to be on the floor. But if this team is healthy, I think they can be more than 8. But as of right now, I don't believe they're going to stay healthy. Their depth is okay. Just kind of, breaking down their depth chart and their roster. Just, again, depth wins you games, man. Just look at Golden State last year, who they were bringing off the pine, and how much that carried into their championship run. Even the Celtics, who made it to the championship, I thought had a deep team. So it's not really I don't know. Just the health is the big thing for me. But again, they were supposed to be my surprise team last year. They fell to 6, but I do like the Bulls just at 8. That's all I can do.
I respect it. I respect it. Caleb, who's your number 8?
This one was really tough for me as well, because this team definitely has the talent, but it's a mess in Brooklyn. I have Brooklyn here. I just believe me, they have the talent to be in the top 3, top 2. There's just so much where it's like, how much of Ben Simmons are we going to see? Is Kyrie going to have another, disappearance? Is KD going to be able to stay healthy? If we look at their offseason additions, let me pull it up real quick. Markieff Morris, TJ Warren, I think, is a guy that when he gets healthy, he can win you 4 or 5 games in the regular season. Like, there's a couple games where he could get really hot. Royce O'Neal, I think Royce O'Neal gets overhyped as a defender, just because he was the only guy on Utah last year that was really willing to sit down and try to guard the ball. Got ate up by Luka every possession. But I mean, their additions, nothing stands out. I love Seth Curry. Absolutely love Seth Curry. But I think it's another team that has injury history. And there's always those questions about Kyrie. There's always those questions about Ben Simmons. So I'm willing, at the end of the season, if they finish higher, I'm willing to be like, yeah, I was 100% wrong. Because I think it's a very, very likely possibility. I just think, given all these questions, I feel safe putting them here at 8.
All right. And I kind of have another surprise one. I'm going with the Miami Heat as my 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. Last year, obviously, they were first in the Eastern Conference. They were a shot away from Jimmy Butler from potentially playing for a championship, which is insane. You look at their rotation: Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, but then they kind of have a lull spot at this forward/guard. Like, do they roll Jimmy Butler at the 3? But then if they roll him at the 3, who do they play at the 4? Their roster is just so interesting. They're paying so much money to their top tier guys, and now they just gave Tyler Hero a huge extension, 4 years, $130 million. So I mean, they're just kind of in a weird spot. Does Victor Oladipo start with this team? But then they're so small. So then, do they trust the rookie in Nikola Jovic? But then, or do they go with Caleb Martin, or do they go with Max Strus again? And if you're starting Max Strus, I don't really trust you as a top tier Eastern Conference team. I love Bam, and I love, Tyler. I like Jimmy Butler, but he's also getting older. We talk about DeMar DeRozan. I think Jimmy Butler is kind of due, and he doesn't even play very hard during some regular season games. So I just think that this team, it has so many question marks. Is Kyle Lowry going to be healthy? He was out essentially the entire postseason, in and out with these hamstring issues, these groin issues. I just don't like their team, to be completely honest. That they lost PJ Tucker, who I think is a huge loss. They didn't really add anybody through free agency or through a trade. They just acquired Nikola Jovic in the draft. So they lost, some core guys in terms of a culture, and Markieff Morris and PJ Tucker. So they lost some toughness, lost some grit. And I just, to be quite frank, I hate this roster.
I'll piggyback off you here, because this is where I have them at 7.
Okay.
It's so funny, because it's like, you look at their roster and it's like, what did they do? Blah, 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 blah. They still finished first in the East last year. You know what I mean? So I completely agree with you in every aspect. I think we're going to see Jimmy Butler have a down, or start to slowly take a down year. Kyle Lowry, can he stay healthy? Tyler Hero, does he want to be there? He wants a bigger role. I don't think it's out of the question to see him traded this year.
Even after the extension?
I mean, yeah, if he doesn't want to be there, why keep him? I mean, you got to think they have another big guy, or they have another guy taking a lot of money in Duncan Robinson that they're not going to, it's just a lot of money that they're not using their fullest potential.
Okay.
So I think, Duncan Robinson didn't play a whole lot. We started to see last year. Max Strus, I do like as a role player for that team. It's just only bringing in Nikola Jovic. I just think it's the two guys they rely on a lot when it comes to scoring, and Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. We're going to see them get a down year.
You just had the Nets, and you just mentioned TJ Warren. You're telling me you couldn't get a guy like TJ Warren?
Yeah,
you couldn't get that 3-4 hybrid that you can kind of I get not paying PJ Tucker 3 years, however much he got from Philly, but you couldn't find that sort of.
I think that's what that's what's missing on this team so I think we're going to see Jimmy. You're obviously going to see Jimmy rest a couple games here and there. Kyle Lowry's going to rest a couple games. Other than Tyler Hero, who's on this roster that can win you a couple games because they get hot? You know what I mean? It's I just don't see it there. I think that's the missing piece. And I think as great as it was that they finished first last year, I think we've continuously seen, other than in the bubble, they always run into the same issues every year in the playoffs. And we're going to see it this time, I think, in the regular season early on.
Fred?
Yeah, I also have the Heat at 7. This is kind of where the point of the, 7 through 1, it's not these teams are bad. It's there's just a team that's just better. I just feel like their roster didn't do much. Like you all have said, they didn't add anybody but Jokic through the draft. I do like Max Strus. Don't like the hate on him. That dude can play. I thought he did a lot of good things last year.
Yeah.
He scored over 10 points. He played much better than Duncan Robinson, a guy you're paying, $60 million for? So, and of course, what you're getting from Tyler, 6th man of the year. Jimmy Butler, I still think has some left in the tank. Do not like Kyle Lowry. I can't wait for them to move on from him. Love Gabe Vincent, the kid out of St. Barb, but outside of that, man, you got Bam. I think another guy who's a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. But their depth is got some question marks. I really like Caleb Martin. Thought he did really well last year. Watched a lot of Heat games, so I'm pretty accustomed to their roster. It's the same one. So, but like Caleb said, they were a 1 seed last year. But again, I think 6 other teams got a lot better, and they stayed right where they were.
Before we move on, this is
a world where you got to improve.
Before we move on from the Heat, can we just address Jimmy Butler's new hairstyle?
Terrible. It's terrible.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to say. That's it. Nothing to add on.
I'm a fan.
And the clean shaven face, I just can't get with it. Bro.
Can we see that? That's ridiculous.
It looks like a DeMar DeRozan type here.
What?
A DeMar DeRozan type year.
Oh God.
Yeah, they remind me so much of each other. That's why I say it.
Well, Troy, I think it's kind of crazy that you. I'll get into that later. Okay, so the 7. I'll get into it whenever I talk about the player and the team I want to talk about. But I got a little bit. So at 7 here, you guys might be surprised. I have the Atlanta Hawks. I've been relatively high on this team. They've been like my baby. I have predicted.
That's crazy.
I have predicted them. Whenever everybody thought I was crazy for saying, they were going to be the team. I have some questions.
I'm heartbroken, bro.
I knew I was.
You say you got questions.
Broken.
You say you got questions. Ask them.
I knew you guys were going to be surprised. I love the Hawks. I love their roster. I love most of what I see. But I have some questions. Is John Collins happy? Because there are some things that I have seen, and
are any of us?
And when you bring in another all-star, right? You bring in another high-quality player. It's these kind of guys like John Collins can get a little offended, we don't have enough right now. You think there's the side of it where you're getting better, but there also is the ego side where you're kind of wait a second, you're not giving me my money, but we just brought in DeJounte Murray, who's locked in for 3 years, probably going to get a massive extension from the Hawks to pair with Trey because they complement each other really well. I don't see the issues with Trey and DeJounte that maybe some do. I think they're going to fit like a glove. I think they are literally going to be one of the best 1-2 punches that we see. DeJounte Murray is so good at what Trae Young is not, and Trae Young is so good at what DeJounte is not. So I just think that they really complement each other well. But again, you guys have said it all along. Can DeAndre Hunter stay healthy? Is John Collins happy? Is Bogey going to continue to be that solid 6-man, or does he even want a bigger role? You brought in this guy to start over me? What type of dynamics do we have rolling in Atlanta? I like that they brought in Justin Holiday. He's a good depth piece. They just traded for Vit Krejcic from the Thunder, however you say his name. He's got some solid minutes under his belt. But I don't hate
team.
Yeah,
Go on.
Yeah, I don't hate, getting rid of Danilo Gallinari. Is Jalen Johnson ready to step up into a rotational role? Former top tier Dookie, we thought was going to be a top 10 pick, but so they got some good depth, but I just have some questions with their culture, with their mindset. Do they have the veterans to make sure this doesn't get out of hand? I don't see, a solid veteran in that locker room that can be like, hey, maybe Clint Capella, but no disrespect. Can he even speak fluent English?
They still have Lou Williams. I think that's a veteran.
No, I don't think they have Lou Will either. I think they lost Lou Will unless they brought him back.
I
NBA.com has him as a loss in free agency. So I don't know. I think he may have retired. I just have the Atlanta Hawks here. Again, I love them. I'll watch them. I'll root them on. They're my Eastern Conference team. I love them to death. But I just have my question. Is AJ Griffin going to be healthy? Because I think he would be a solid piece for them. So just a lot of question marks for me. Can't get behind them. I like 6 teams way better than them this year.
Wow. I'll save all my Atlanta stuff for when it comes up.
So you're 6. Who's your 6 then?
I have the Cavs here.
Okay.
I think it's the fun thing because, that's the big trade of the offseason. What I wrote down, though, is like, what is a successful season for the Cavs? Because I think like finishing 6 is a very, very successful season for them. There's questions about like with the Knicks, it's like, who's going to be their perimeter defender? Who's going to be their perimeter defender, but who's also going to be their defender to guard like threes? Because it's like Isaac Okoro. But that's my thing. Is like he can't guard everybody with the ball. You know what I mean? Like Donovan Mitchell's not that great of an on-ball defender.
Dude, he was so good at Louisville. So it's like I'm wondering if he can get back there because that's where he came out as a defender coming out of Louisville.
I think you could throw Evan Mobley to guard almost. There's a lot of guys I would trust Evan Mobley to guard. Let me put it like that. I absolutely love Evan Mobley. Jared Allen's pretty solid for them. And bringing in Robin Lopez, another vet, bringing in Raul Neto, and bringing in 2 guys that are good vets. I really love what they did this offseason. They're one of my favorite offseason moves for this whole year. I do have questions about how Garrett Levert's gonna, is he just gonna come off the bench and shoot the piss out of the ball? There's a lot of questions like that, but I like what they did. I just think it's going to take a little bit of time to get adjusted, and I have them at 6.
I have I'm going to piggyback off him real quick. Sorry, Fred. I was going to pass it to you, but I also have the Cavs here. But let me reiterate something right now. If the Cavs go get Jay Crowder, they will be in the NBA Finals this year. I am saying that now. If they go out and get a guy like Jay Crowder, yeah, I'm pulling up the hot takes. If they go get a guy like Jay Crowder, a defender and a 3-point specialist that can space out the floor, another culture guy, you look at their bench at that point, you'd be bringing Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro, Kevin Love, Ricky Rubio, and then you throw in Robin Lopez, a Dean Wade that they're really high on, a Lamar Stevens. Like, dude, this team is deep. They're talented. And if they don't have to use, I could see them having to use Lamar Stevens in a first for a Jay Crowder, maybe that sort of deal.
Sure.
But they go out and get a guy. You just said, where is their 3 defender? Mm-hmm. He's a wing. He's a 3-and-D wing. He'd slide right in, provide instant culture. He's been there before. Cleveland fans would love him. He has that kind of, that kind of dog that the rest of this team doesn't really have. I would hate because I want him on the Lakers. Obviously, I don't like Jay Crowder really, but as a fan who needs what the Cavs need too, this would take the Cavs to the next level. I think that they would make the NBA Finals. I think they would knock off some teams. I don't think they would win it, but I literally think this would take them to the next level. So there's my hot take. The Cavs are my 6th team though. Fred, I'll let you go from there.
So they go get Jay Crowder. Where are they finishing the standings?
I mean, it depends when. Like, if it's around the trade deadline, I do think they get out to a super slow start. Their schedule kind of stinks early on in terms of they play a lot of teams that have been together. Like, they're still have the nucleus. So I think that like it'll take them a few, especially with Garland and Donovan, maybe trying to figure out how to play off each other. They have similar.
Well, they did.
games.
That's the thing. So I think offensively, I don't think there's gonna like those two played together a lot this summer. So I think like those two like will probably have a good understanding of each other. And you throw in Evan Mobley, dude. Evan Mobley can go play with anybody, in my opinion.
So could
Evan
Jarrett
Mobley-
Allen. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
So it's like, I mean, other than that, it's like my question is they're going to have to figure it out all defensively. And I think that's what's going to kill them early on. So you're like, you're questioning offense, I think, more than defense. And I'm questioning defense more than offense. So
I just know in the NBA, if you can guard the perimeter good enough, the mid-range shot's so dead. If they try to take it in on Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, they can wipe it away. And if you're able just to keep them stable on the perimeter, you can be okay. So Fred, I'll pass this over to you now. 6th seed.
I got the Boston Celtics. They're my Joker team of the year.
Wow, I love the Joker card.
Thank you. It comes down to one thing. You can't have a coach. Is that going to affect the team? They're having a new coach who also has domestic violence issues. Just saying, throwing it out there.
Yeah, shuts out.
But they have the roster. But I think, again, it's kind of one of those situations is I like 5 teams more than them. Do I still think they can make a conference final, even NBA? Absolutely. But as the regular season boils down, I do think they make a 6. Love Jaylen Brown. I could go on for days about him. Your bench is great. You got Derek White. You got Malcolm Brogdon. You got Gallinari. Absolutely love it. Can J.D. Davidson, can he show some things? Rookie out of Bama. Caleb says no. Al Horford's what, 87 years old now. Good for him. Is Jason Tatum going to make that leap? He's there. Is he going to finish? No better than Jaylen Brown. But again, the front office issues in all seriousness, I think it's going to have a bigger effect on them than people realize. And I mean, you just lost a coach who took you to the NBA Finals. Starts with leadership, ends with leadership. Is this new guy going to be that guy? Are these guys going to trust him? You know, after, again, they just played as long as you can play with a one guy, a Mecca, whatever, whatever. I hate him. Anyway.
Joker team of the year. Fred, I'll just let you keep on going. Your 5th team in the Eastern Conference.
This is where I put Cleveland. God, let me tell you something. I wish I could watch them.
I know.
But
it's
blackout. It's such a bummer, man. Darius Garland, star. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Dude's going to be a star. If he can defend even a smidge, I think their defense is good because I think Donovan Mitchell can defend. I said it again. Out of college, he was known for an elite defensive on-ball defender. He obviously has not done that in the NBA because he had this big role of scoring in Utah, right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Now you're going to put him around guys like Evan Mobley, a guy like Darius Garland who's ball dominant, which is huge. I still like Cedi Osman. Talk to me, somebody. Jarrett Allen, I think, is an elite defender. I mean, you have 2 elite defenders, and I think Evan Mobley, like Caleb said, can defend the perimeter well. Jarrett Allen and him down low is going to be incredible, and Evan Mobley, like I said, stepping out, guarding the perimeter. Lamar Stevens is good. Karis LeVert coming off the bench is that scorer, kind of that Jordan Poole role. Golly. But we'll see, man. I'm super excited for this team. Again, wish we could watch them on the NBA League Pass, but unfortunately, we can't. But I think this team is going to be kind of like how the Chicago Bulls took that leap, built a really good roster. They're going to be fun, and they're young. They're young, so we're going to see this team just continue to rise. I'm excited for them. Again, I do like what Troy said with the veteran. They need a veteran. Bring him a veteran wing. Would love to see Jay Crowder, and I think they can make some noise.
Caleb?
This is where I have the Raptors. Raptors finished 5th last year. If I wasn't so high on Scotty Barnes, I would have them a lot lower. Troy threw out a hot take. I'll throw out a hot take. Scotty Barnes will make an All NBA team this year. I don't think first team. I think we could it is not out of the realm of possibility in my mind that Scotty Barnes finishes All NBA second team. I am all in on him. I watched a lot of film. I watched a lot of, granted, it's, summer runs, stuff like that. But from what I've seen of him, he's got the skill, he's got the body, he's got the height. I mean, he has it all. His jump shot looks a lot better. He's got the ball handling, he's got the vision. And I think given the leap I expect out of him, and you still have good guys around him like Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Gary Trent Jr. has moments where he gets really, really hot. Thad Young's still like an okay, solid, throw-in piece. Delano Banton, I actually kind of like as well. I know Giannonobi, if he can stay healthy, I think they have a bunch of guys that are solid enough to keep them in the top 5 where they were last year, led by Scotty Barnes. So I have them here.
I respect it. You're all in, top 10 NBA player with Scotty Barnes. I love it.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
That's what you're asking.
I like Scotty Barnes a lot.
When it comes down to it, it's like guys that could probably that are better than him. They're going to be sitting more than he is. Like, this is a young guy, his second year in the league, who is very exciting, who can do it all.
And you can tell he loves basketball. He's like, when he defends,
he loves that
like
culture.
Pissed off. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm pissed off if you score.
He's like,
and
they're
really good coached. Like, they are one of the best coached teams in the league.
Dick Nurse is great.
So it's like, this is just like a good environment, and you've got a young guy that's just going to take you. I like it.
So this is where I threw in the Chicago Bulls, my 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. I'm really surprised that Fred keeps, and whenever he was talking about the Heat, he kept saying Jimmy Butler, comparing him to DeMar. Like, they're the same age. You guys keep saying DeMar can't, have another great, good year.
I said it in the sense of mid-range scorer. Jimmy's a better defender. Just kind of that old school kind of wing, you know what I'm saying?
I just really like the Bulls roster, if I'm going to be honest. Like, you guys know how high I am on Nikola Vucevic. I love Nikola Vucevic. He has said many, many times how he's going to be so much more aggressive this year, and they're going to need it. They are going to need it. He's going to have a great year. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams. I'm super high on that guy as well. He can be, an OG Anunoby type role for them as a little stretch 4, a physical 4. He can defend. He can do it all. And then if you have their question is who starts at their point guard spot with Lonzo obviously struggling with his knee still. Is it Goran Dragic? Do they wait and bring him off the bench? Do they start Alex Caruso? And you guys know how I feel about my boy AC. And I love Andre Drummond as well. Especially on this type of team. Like, they need that tough rebounder. They have the small 4s to pair him around where he's not going to stick out like a sore thumb. When you're playing alongside a guy like Anthony Davis, or you're trying to play alongside people that play for the 76ers last year, like Joel Embiid and those types, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb because you're not as athletic as them. And you kind of just clog it all up. And with guys flying around the ring like Derrick Jones Jr. and just, Javonte Green, like the players that they have off their bench, I think he'll find a nice role. And then, of course, Kobe White, hoping he steps up. And, of course, Ayo Dosunmu. So
Ayo Dosunmu is exciting.
Yeah, they just have a really, really fun team. And if Lonzo Ball can at some point get healthy enough to contribute and play and start and kind of be that ball distributor, he doesn't even have to really score with guys like LaVine, DeRozan, Vucevic, Patrick Williams, and who they got coming off their bench. So if he's just healthy enough to distribute, I love this team this year.
He's proven to be one of the best on-ball defenders in the league, too.
Yeah, he's incredibly tough defensively. You pair him with Alex Caruso, then you have LaVine, DeRozan, and Vucevic. Like, you got your defensive stouts on the wings.
I just feel like everybody on their roster deals with injuries at least once, twice a year. Like, every single person.
The way LaVine plays, how could you not?
Yeah, he's a high riser.
So it's like, with like several of the teams we mentioned, it's like we brought up like the injury potential with certain guys, but it's like when you have multiple guys that have history of injuries, it's just so concerning to me. They were my team to like, they were, when Vucevic got traded there, I was all in on that. It didn't work out that year, but DeMar, like, I've loved the Bulls, don't get me wrong, but I just think with all that concern, that's why I had them so low. But I definitely understand where you're coming from, but nonetheless.
I'm going to keep the hot takes rolling. My number 4 team in the Eastern Conference is the Brooklyn Nets. I've been extremely low on the Brooklyn Nets for quite some time.
Yeah, you're blowing my mind today.
I'm going against the grain today. I am going against what I normally do.
What'd you eat today?
I know, for real. But I like their roster. I think that they're due for a bounce back. I think Ben Simmons, I watched his podcast. I watched the podcast that he did with JJ Redick. You know, he is what he is. He's he really fits the interesting of this team. Like, they're just really interesting bunch. But I love their additions this year. I was looking at some of their additions. I'm like, man, like they made some solid moves. Bringing in Markieff Morris, a little toughness. TJ Warren, sneaky. Royce O'Neal. Edmund Sumner, if he's healthy, he's another sneaky guy off their bench. But they are a tad guard heavy off the bench with Cam Thomas, Joe Harris, and Patty Mills. But I really like their star power on this team with KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons. It's tough to have a pairing of three that talented. And if Ben Simmons can buy into a role and maybe even play the 5 some, like he's alluded to, like this team could be like something to be like, wow, like this team can really put up points. I think they can be way better offensively than the Harden, Irving, KD, just because they just have so many more ways to hurt you if Ben Simmons can be a maestro as a 5. So I just think that people forget how talented Ben Simmons is. I'm in on the Nets this year in the terms of being a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. Maybe not. I don't think they're going to play for a title. I don't think they're a title contender, but I think with them trying to prove something in the regular season, they'll have a little bit more motivation during the regular season to put on a good year. So that's who I have at 4. Fred, we'll roll to you.
Yeah, the Nets are actually my jack team. So you forget about them. You know, they're just kind of lost in the sauce. You forget about Kyrie. You forget about KD. You forget about the elite defensive player that Ben Simmons is.
Yes.
I hope he buys into the let me hit the rim. Let me run a little bit. Let me pass. We don't need you to shoot a 3. Who cares? There's plenty of guys in the league who don't need to shoot 3s. He's one of them. Go defend. Go rebound. Go be great. Go do what you're good at and let Kyrie and KD light it up. You got Joe Harris. You have Seth Curry. You have Cam Thomas who will shoot it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And a guy I think is going to have a great year is Nicholas Claxton, kid out of Georgia. I think he's improving. You brought in Markieff Morris. That the 5 is the question mark. The Deron Sharp, it's very thin.
Yeah, think about a lineup of like a Kyrie, Seth Curry. Then you go with Royce O'Neal, KD, and Ben Simmons. Like that type of lineup doesn't really have much of a weakness. Maybe outside of
defense
like,
in the backcourt for sure.
Yeah, maybe perimeter defense, but then at the same time, it's like, well, you could switch everywhere. So it's not like a lot of teams can just screen like how they try to get mismatches. It's like, you know, so it is interesting. Maybe if a team is dominant going one-on-one, but like that kind of lineup though, where you have KD, Royce O'Neal, Ben Simmons, all very versatile defenders. It's just super interesting, this roster.
I'm excited to watch him play, man, because I hope
your jack team.
You say my jack team. Of course, I hope. I mean, it's so much fun watching Kyrie and KD do what they do. If they can just stay in, if Steve Nash can get those boys, you know, leaning in, and Ben Simmons comes back preseason against Philly tonight, that would be fun. But yeah, man, I'm super excited to watch that team play because the star power is just out of this world.
All right, Caleb, what about you?
My number 4, I have the Celtics here. I think they just have the talent that even with all these questions and everything, you know, that obviously is
Ime Udoka. I said his name right. There we go.
Everything that's happened with them, I just think they have the talent nonetheless to keep them at the top of the Eastern Conference.
Weird though, right? I mean, just
their talent or like what's happened?
Their whole situation.
I mean, yeah, it's not ideal. But I think like you guys, I mean, bringing in Malcolm Brogdon, I really like.
He looked good. He looked good.
Now Danilo Gallinari got hurt. I think there's a realm of possibility that like they figure out a way to get rid of his contract and figure out a way to bring in a different guy in. But I think like Jason Tatum last year, 26.9 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, we could see him take a big leap and be an MVP candidate. Like, you know what I mean? And I really think that's a great possibility. The question definitely is with Al Horford, 10 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists last year. And he played very well for them in the playoffs throughout their run. who's going to step up? Because I just don't think it's, he's going to be able to do that again. Robert Williams is hurt again, I'm pretty sure. Grant Williams, Grant Williams inconsistent. Derek White inconsistent. Marcus Smart I like, but there's sometimes I wish he would just not shoot. But he's improved his jump shot a whole lot. I just think, given everything that we've seen with them, I wanted to have them higher. I just think there is that slight chance that this offseason affects them a little bit. You got to think, like, imagine them coming off to a slow start, like 0-3, and you got all the media in your ear nonstop pissing you off. Your focus isn't on basketball. But I think nonetheless they have the talent. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, take them in the top 4.
I'm going to piggyback straight off you. I have them at 3rd. I have the Boston Celtics at 3rd here. So Boston, I mean, I can't really add too much to what you have said. They have some question marks. They really do. There's a ton of question marks, actually. Like, this is one of those teams I could see from 3rd to like 7, 8. Like, they could have a Brooklyn Nets like.
That's how I am with the Nets. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of like a Brooklyn Nets like year from last year, where it's just kind of, choppy. You're in the media a lot, not a lot of good things happening, but Jason Tatum, you already said it, is just so elite. And I think Jaylen Brown is right there with him. But I think Jason Tatum is just a touch better. And I think that, like you said, he's going to get in some MVP conversations this year and really backpack this team. The city of Boston is going to fall in love with them even deeper than what they already do. So I like them. I just don't, they are what they are. I don't think they're going to make the, finals again. They kind of lucked out with Chris Middleton getting hurt. But nonetheless, let's keep it moving. Fred, who's your 3rd team?
I'm going to go with the Atlanta Hawks, A-Town stand up. Love the team. I love the addition of DeJounte Murray. How can you not? I mean, that kid's elite on-ball defender. Like you said, they complement each other well. When that first happened, I kind of looked at it and was like, how's that going to work? And then when you kind of break it down, it's like, oh, it is going to work. Well, we'll have to see, but I think it can work. I love DeAndre Hunter if he can stay healthy. I think he can be a very good 3-and-D for them. You got Justin Holiday, brought in AJ Griffin in the draft. Jarrett Culver, kind of guy just kind of got swept under the rug. John Collins is that elite rim runner. Like you said, does he want to be there? I'm not sure. I love Clint Capella. I absolutely love Clint Capella. I think he's great. He's going to get you a bunch of rebounds, defend the rim. He's going to catch loss from Trae Young, probably from DeJounte. I'm excited to see what they do with handling the ball. You got Bogdan coming off the bench. It's a good team, and I think they just made the right offseason moves to propel them even further. So I'm excited. I mean, they're a team that can make a finals run. You know what I mean? Like, they have that type of roster. It's all about that backcourt working. It's all about the bench coming together.
I was about to say, you think they have the depth?
Is a guy who I think is going to improve a ton this year. And that's Nneka Okongwu. I think is going to be awesome for them. Even end up starting. Who knows? But I really like Nneka, and it's going to be a fun team to watch. Another fun team to watch. And again, that backcourt is just something else, man.
So this is where I also have the Hawks. Troy, I just can't believe it.
Dude, before we started, I was like, you're going to be very happy with where I put one of the teams.
All the years that I've fought you with the Hawks, I finally am like, okay, I'll go all in.
Dude, I was the same way. I was like, wait, look at the roster. I'm like, oh, they're actually
so
good at basketball.
When the trade first happened, I don't like Trae Young. I can't really put my finger on it. I just don't like the guy. Nonetheless, I think when I first saw the trade happen, I was like, how's that going to work out? Because I think there's a great possibility of it. But I think we have to understand that, like, Trae Young's not Steph Curry off the ball. Like, he's never been put in this position where he's had to play off the ball. Like, if you watch Steph Curry off the ball, it's a masterpiece. Now, if Trae Young can do that, I think it's going to work out great. I do think there might be some stumbling blocks along the way when it comes to that. But Trae Young shot 55% from corner threes last year. Now, how many of them were just, catch and shoot? I don't know. But 55% from the corner. If you've got DeJounte Murray with the ball and you put Trae Young in the corner, you're not going to be able to leave him, and DeJounte Murray's going to be able to finish around the rim. John Collins and Clint Capella, both lob threats. DeAndre Hunter, if he can stay healthy. Bogdanovich, I like. But their depth at, like, adding the Holiday brothers, Justin Holiday and Aaron Holiday, they both brought in. Jarrett Culver, whatever. Mo Harkless they brought in. I think that's another guy you could throw out there and trust a little bit.
They traded Mo Harkless for
just
Vit
like
Krejci. Yeah, for that
oh,
Vit
okay.
guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's okay. Same thing. You can throw him out there, whatever. Nonetheless, I love what this team did adding their bench. I think they're going to be an exciting team in transition. Like this is kind of like the Hornets were the really exciting team in transition last year. I think the Hawks might be that exciting team. John Collins catching just a bunch of lobs all day long, making his job easy. And I think this is a year where he's going to be like, okay, you guys made this trade. I'll stick it out. And if it works, great. If not, okay, get me out of here. But I'm going to go all in. So I got the Hawks.
So my question mark is obviously their depth and John Collins. You guys seem a little bit more like okay with their depth. I thought
my question, like
problem.
that was one of the big issues I had with them all these years. It was like they had no bench, in my opinion. But it's like they went out of their way and brought in guys that no, they're not going to go crazy for you. But it's like Justin Holiday, he can play alongside those guys and can probably guard several positions. Even a guy like Frank Kaminsky, like I think he has a few games a year where it's like he can put up big numbers. He can, another guy can spread the floor. So it's like all these guys and AJ Griffin, if he can stay healthy and play well for them, it's a bunch of guys that can play around the pieces they already have here. So that's why I'm real high on it.
I mean, it was a great draft. I mean, you bring in AJ Griffin. I hate talking about new guy, but I mean, it wasn't maybe best player available. It was he fits a need because we don't need a guy to come in and be a star. We're not hoping AJ Griffin is a ball dominant wing. We need him to be what is so such a royalty now in the NBA is a 3-and-D, and that is exactly what I think he can turn into.
Okay, so Fred, while you're yetting about some 3-and-Ds, who's your number 2 team in the Eastern Conference?
I'm gonna hit my king team because they have the best player in the NBA, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I'm going with the Milwaukee Bucks. Wow. I have them at 2 because I'll talk about them.
Just go ahead and say your 1 while you're.
I mean, it's Philly. Do you want me to talk about both of them or what?
Yeah, just go ahead and talk about both of them.
Okay, I'll start with the 2. Milwaukee. You got Drew Holiday, most underrated player in the league, elite defender, the perfect complement to Chris Middleton, Giannis. You have Giannis. I mean, you have the best player in the NBA. I finally say it. I've been saying ever since LeBron's taken his breath in the NBA, he's the best player. And I said until he retires, I won't say anybody else is, but my God, Giannis is. You got Brook Lopez. Can he stay healthy? Bobby Portis is a great bench piece. Trippy McGee still on the team, which is cool. Pat Connaughton gives you great minutes. I love Lindell Wigginton. I talked about him in the video where we talked about NBA Summer League standouts, a kid out of Iowa State, a really long guard that I think can bring them good minutes. You have George Hill still. This team is just complete, and you have Giannis. You have a guy who is an MVP candidate every year. He can defend. He can run. Can he improve his shooting? Who cares? Like, this dude is elite. So excited for him. And, man, if you want me to talk about my 1, hold on, let me pull up my notes about my team, my ace team. That's the Philadelphia 76ers, man. I am absolutely in love with this team. And I'm going to tell you why. Because James Harden, hot take, he's back. He's going to make an All-NBA team this year. I think James Harden he's slimmed down. People wrote him off. I'm tired of the James Harden slander. I even gave it to him. But my God, he can still play. And he's going to complement who I think, Tyrese Maxey. That boy can play, son, and I'm excited to watch his growth. Matisse Thybulle, what can he bring defensively? It's great. Tobias Harris is still there, and you have your MVP, Joel Embiid. I mean, what else do you need? You brought in Montrezl Harrell. Can he stay out of trouble? I don't know. Love Gorgie's Niang. Love Paul Reed. Daniel House brought him in 3-and-D. Like Isaiah Joe, young kid, Anthony Melton. Korkmaz can shoot the 3.
PJ Tucker.
I mean, you want to talk about the
biggest signing.
You want to talk about? I was getting there.
That's why I was.
Listen, I think they're the most complete team. I think Tyrese Maxey is continuing to grow, take that next step. I think James Harden gets back to what he is, but what he is now at how old is he? 77, 33. He plays a role that I think is going to just propel him even more. Like I said, he's slimmed down. I think he wants to be there, and I think he wants to win. And I think James Harden's back. And I think Joel Embiid's going to stay healthy, dominate, MVP this man. Tyrese Maxey, I love you. 76 would run off into the sunset.
Caleb, let's go to you. You're
I
number 2 and
also
you're number
have
1.
Bucks second, 76ers first.
Anything
I like the
different you
Bucks.
need to add?
I like the Bucks addition of Joe Ingles.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off.
No, you're good.
No.
I like the addition of Joe Ingles, but I don't know how long it is exactly till he's able to play. But I think he fits in really well with that team. And I mean, it's just you've got the best player in basketball, and you've got really, really solid pieces around him. I don't see why anybody would have the Bucks outside of the top 2. Going to Philadelphia, I was so all in on James Harden, skinny James Harden. I loved what I saw. I watched a lot of him running open runs in this offseason. And I mean, granted, like I said before, it's offseason stuff. I understand. But he looks faster. He looks quicker. He looks just in shape. It looks great. Bringing in Montrezl Harrell, I really like because Joel Embiid's going to sit games. Joel Embiid's going to, miss out a few games. He's a guy that you can throw in that starting lineup and can bring that energy, can pick and roll with James Harden, pick and roll with Tyrese Maxey. I really love Paul Reed's a guy that I really like for them. I expect him to have a better year this year. Bringing in PJ Tucker, another guy that can spread the floor. Daniel House Jr., another guy that can spread the floor and guard. And DeAnthony Melton, really solid guard as well. I love what they did. This was my year to be all in on the 76ers, and I'm all in. I love it. I have them finishing number 1.
So I have the 76ers finishing number 2. I'm all in on the love for the 76ers. I love their team as well. You guys have already said it. I think one thing about Montrezl Harrell, he kind of complements Embiid a little bit better than the guys they've had in recent years in terms of being a backup, because he can also face up and attack and put some pressure on the defense. And, whenever we did the Cal Perry draft, Fred always said, you don't want to see this team down a dark alley. Whenever he drafted his team, you really don't want to see the 76ers down a dark alley. PJ Tucker, Montrezl Harrell, them boys, I do not want to, get on the bad side. And then James Harden, just kind of the pimp in the back, putting his people all in order. But I think a lot of love needs to go to Tobias Harris as well. Just a team guy. He's always been willing to just do whatever it takes for the team. I love their roster, but let's not forget who the king of the NBA is, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I gave him the king.
He's the new king in the league. They're going to be the number 1 seed, in my opinion, in the Eastern Conference. They're going to storm their way back to the NBA Finals. This is a team, man, that is an injury away from us saying, can they perform a three-peat? Can they be one of the special teams that can get the job done and three-peat? Because in my eyes, they would have beat the Warriors last year. They were the one team in the NBA that could stout the Warriors. And it's because you have a guy like you love, Fred, Drew Holiday. It doesn't get a lot of love, but my God, he can get up in people. He's pesky. The refs also let him play. He's got that. He may not got a ton of respect from a lot of fans, but he has the respect with the officials because they let that boy play. I love their addition of Grayson Allen last year, a few years ago. You already alluded to it, Joe Ingles. I love that addition as well. Just that off-ball guy that can get hot, get going. Chris Middleton is just a stud. I'll never forget when Fred and I were on the train that he was better than Giannis. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's one I have to take off the chin.
I remember me and you got.
I was so out on Giannis that he needed to play the 5. This guy can play wherever he wants. I don't care. I'm in love with this guy. I love his game. I love him as a person. He seems like a great guy.
He's a great face for the league, literally.
I am all in on Milwaukee. I'm all in on the Bucks. And again, this is a team that, in my opinion, would have won the NBA championship had it not been for Chris Middleton. And they almost got there without him. So it's and that's their number 2. That's an all-star that they were without, and they pushed the Celtics to 7. And so it's just one of those things. Pat Connaughton, great. Javon Carter, solid. Wesley Matthews always seems to stick his nose in there, and Bobby Portis as well. And then their rookie Marjon Beauchamp. So, yeah, I'm rolling with the Bucks, my number 1 seed. I'm a little surprised to see all the love for the 76ers as the new number 1 seed.
Neither of you all talked about Tyrese Maxey.
You already did. What's there to add?
You talked about him.
Okay, but I mean the jump. I mean that was. I mean the way he played last year and learning under James Harden, he's proved it.
I mean,
why wouldn't you go to Kentucky? Sorry,
we all say our top 2 teams are the exact same teams. It's just our formatting is a little.
It's kind of 1A, 1B kind of
Yeah.
situation. Like if the Bucks were the 1 seed, wouldn't be surprised. If another team was, the Nets could be the 1 seed. You know, that's kind of. I love that these conference is loaded like this because in previous years it was like, oh, we know who's going to be the 1 seed. Oh, we know who's going to, now.
All right.
Don't know.
Caleb, real quick to end the video. Caleb, give me your team that you think is going to make it out of Eastern Conference, and then give me your sleeper team.
That I think I have a hard time betting against Giannis, so I'll go Bucks come out of the East. Sleeper team. Oh man, give me. I don't want to go Hawks, but I'll go Raptors.
Wow.
Wait, to make the NBA Finals or like?
Yeah, win the Eastern Conference.
Win the Eastern Conference. Okay.
Give me the Raptors. They've been there before. They have the core guy other than Kawhi, but I think Scotty Barnes can, help out. Give me the Raptors as a sleeper.
All right, Fred, who wins the Eastern Conference for you? Your bona fide prediction and then your sleeper.
Can we pray that the Eastern Conference Finals is the Sixers and Bucks so we can just see those juggernauts swing at each other? I'm going Philadelphia. I'm taking the Sixers to the NBA Finals. My sleeper team, man, I'm going to go Miami Heat. I know it's not really a sleeper in the sense of they've never been there before, but the sense of we're all kind of going against them, saying they didn't do much. But again, they were the 1 seed last year, and you got Eric Spoelstra. You got a great coach, got a great owner, got a great GM. You got it all. Miami Heat sleeper team. What about you, Troy?
Yeah, I've kind of already said it. The Bucks, I think, are going to steamroll to the Eastern Conference Finals or the championship. And then as a sleeper team, as constructed. So obviously, I said if the Cavs get
Cavs,
Jay Crowder, I think so. As constructed, I'm going to go with the Bulls. I'm going to go with the Bulls as my sleeper
dude. If Lonzo's
team.
healthy, dude, that team's tough.
To get out of the East. So yeah, I'm a little surprised you guys are loving on Atlanta. I feel like a bad,
you let me down.
I know.
I literally said, I was like, dude, I can't wait to make Troy happy with what I'm about to say. And he was just betting against it.
I'm against them, not in the terms of rooting, just on how I see it this year. I am a little out on them. But Fred, you can go ahead and get us out of here, my guy.
Hey, super excited for the NBA season. What'd y'all say? 17 days away?
17.
Well, hey, stay tuned. We'll have Western Conference coming out. I'm sure we'll have our preseason predictions, breaking down the whole playoffs. We'll talk about who our preseason award winners are. It's all that good stuff. So stay tuned. Make sure y'all subscribe. We love you guys. Again, NBA season right around the corner. Stay tuned. Don't forget to check out those NFL videos. Some good stuff. Don't be a star. Don't be a superstar. Be an X Factor. Change the game. Be different. God bless. And peace out.